Hey, music nerds, fans, and maybe bands. I'm Ivan, and welcome back to another crazy Airplane Over the Teen video. Today I'm doing something kind of different from what I usually do. Usually I'll go through an artist's discography that I've listened to a bunch and talk about each album. But there are many bands and artists that I've never listened to, but would like to. So in this video, I'm going to be listening to an artist's discography for the first time, an artist who I've never listened to before, and give my thoughts on each album. I think this could be a pretty cool series, and I'm going to start with this video and see if I want to do more in the future. The band I want to look at today is Wolf Alice. They're a band that I've found kind of intriguing, but have never listened to at all. Since they have a pretty small discography, I thought they could be a good band to do this video on so it wouldn't be so long and overwhelming to make. Before I listen to all their albums, I think some research is necessary, so to Wikipedia we go. Okay. Diapers, lasagna. Alright, so it looks like Wolf Alice is an indie rock shoegaze influenced dream pop band from London that was formed in 2010. Well, that seems like enough research for today. I'm now educated on the entire history of the band and music. I'm so smart. But before we dive in, I want to ask the opinion of one of my best friends and Wolf Alice enjoyer, Nathaniel. So here's my interview with him about the band and what he likes about them, so I'll know what I might like. All right, I'm here with Nathaniel, and we're going to be talking.
Hello.
Yeah, that's his catchphrase.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about Wolf Alice.
Yeah.
Because he has listened to them before, I think.
Yeah. Quite a few times. Since 2020, I've been a fan.
Well, yeah, because you kept telling me, like, oh, you should listen to them. And I was like, yeah, I will. And then I never did. So
Yeah, you listened to one song, though.
I don't think I did.
Really? I thought maybe.
I don't remember.
One of them, it was slightly like, it sounded a bit like, was it Apartment Story by The National?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, if you re-listen to it, I'm sure you'll like that one song.
I'll probably start listening right after this. All right, so I got some questions for you. The first question my question is, what would you all right.
It's just like once you start laughing you can't stop. It's like
you can't stop. I haven't even done the first question yet. There are 5.
Oh my goodness.
All right, so the first question is, what do you think is your favorite album by them?
You see, it's for me, like, it's always been between their first album and their second album. So My Love Is Cool and Visions of a Life. They're both really, really solid. I think upon like re-listening to them, I would say that like My Love Is Cool is probably my favorite album. But yeah, it's really close. I guess Blue Weekend like received a ton of like critical acclaim like this year, and like a lot of people say it's their best album. I personally disagree with that, although that's just my opinion. But yeah, I like their original or their older stuff, the OG stuff.
Yeah, that's
the best.
That's fair. Would you say that the albums are much different than each other?
I'd say that they're all pretty like consistent in their sound. Like they all like pull from grunge, shoegaze, dream pop, and yeah, just those genres. Even like I've heard some people say folk a bit, which I didn't hear too much except for like in a few songs. But they definitely like grow with each album. Like they do like expand upon their sound, and I'd say like the production like becomes better on like each album.
This is probably the hardest question. What's your favorite song of theirs?
That is really hard. It's actually kind of hard and it's kind of easy. I've always liked Swallowtail from their first album.
Okay.
So that's always been like a favorite. But they have so many good songs on like every album. Like my favorite song on Visions of a Life is probably, I don't know, there are too many good ones. I like Heaven Bird, the first song. That one's quite good. And Love Space and Time, that's a great song on that album. And on Blue Weekend, I really love Smile is a great single. I love that one. Yeah, How Can I Make It Okay? That's another great one. Yeah, I'm just listening like all the songs on every album. But yeah, they're all quite good.
Yeah, that's what I do when people ask me my favorite song by a band or from an album. I pretty much start just going through the entire track list.
Right, yeah. Like at least like 5 songs on like each album that I just love.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, so yeah, very hard to choose, but
Would you say they're one of your favorite bands?
that's a good question. They're among my favorite bands, I'd say. They're not one of my favorites, but like they're in the huge like circle of like all the bands that I enjoy
Like-
listening to.
Like kind of top 25, top 30?
Yeah, I'd say so. Kind of in that range, I guess. Yeah, not top 10, but still in there, I
Around
guess.
there. Yeah. And then last question.
Yeah.
What do you think I'm going to think of their stuff?
Let's see. That's a good question. This actually might be the hardest one.
Yeah,
Because
when I said that the other one was the hardest one, I was like, this
Yeah.
might actually be harder.
that's hard to say because I feel like you'll like a lot of their stuff. I'm not sure if all of it is for you, but I do think that you'll generally like it. Like in terms of albums, you might like Visions of a Life the best. Like the production on it is very good. It's very raw sounding, very like unchained. There's a lot of energy in it. Like oh man, we might have to cut this part.
I wanted to have you on for the American football one, but I had already finished it by the time
Right.
I thought to include you. So,
Right, yeah, exactly.
I was like, so when I thought of, I've never gotten into Wolf Alice, I was like, there we go.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
the idea,
Yeah.
light bulb.
Well, I know that you have a few bands that I haven't quite listened to yet, but
Yeah.
that's definitely one of mine that you haven't quite got around to listening to yet.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, cool.
Awesome.
See, I haven't.
Yeah, it'll probably just, So it's a few days later now, and I've listened to the first Wolf Alice album, My Love Is Cool. I enjoyed this album quite a bit. I liked every song in at least some capacity. The album is comprised of really catchy and well-made indie rock songs with a dream pop tinge. Songs like Bros, Your Love's Whore, Lisbon, and Swallowtail are definitely highlights for me, but there were no songs I disliked. I like how you can hear the band's influences, but they still sound very original, and they don't sound like they're copying the bands and artists that influenced them. I like the variety of the track list. Every song sounds like they're in the same world, but you can still tell them apart, which sometimes is a problem for me with other albums. This is a really good debut and quite an enjoyable listen, but it kind of feels like it's missing something. I don't really know how to describe it. It kind of feels like it is what it presents itself to be. It's kind of just a bunch of great, well-written songs, but it's not necessarily a super exciting listening experience all the way through, which isn't really a bad thing. It's just something that I hope improves on future albums. It's a very minor detail, but it didn't feel as grand as I think it could have. This album is still awesome, but I am kind of hoping that their next albums get a little more ambitious. But this is still a great first album. So it's even more days later, and I've just listened to Wolf Alice's second album, Visions of a Life. This album is exactly what I wanted to change from My Love Is Cool. Opening with Heavenward, which has such a cool shoegaze sound, and it's just a super angelic song, which makes sense given the title. Just like on their last album, there's quite a bit of variety in the track list, with more punk-influenced stuff like Yuck Fu, or an Arctic Monkeys reminiscent track like Beautifully Unconventional. This band has quite a bit of character, especially with the contrasting styles and expressive vocals on every track. I like all of these songs quite a lot. There isn't a real weak moment anywhere. I could actually see myself listening to this album quite a bit in the future, which I don't say for a lot of albums. This album seems to balance the pop and rock sounds just a little better than on My Love Is Cool, with the band sounding a little more confident with experimenting. This album also flows extremely well, which I felt the last one was lacking. I feel like it's going to be very hard to top this album for me. Everything about it is just great. I definitely think Nathaniel was right that this is my favorite album by them. Speaking of which, as I'm recording this, it is Nathaniel's birthday. So if you want, drop in the comments, happy birthday to Nathaniel. Alright, I'll be back in a few more days, and hopefully I will have listened to Blue Weekend. So, it is indeed a few days later, and I've listened to Wolf Alice's third and most recent album, Blue Weekend. This album is terrific. I love the opening track, The Beach, with its dreamy and beautiful atmosphere, and it just keeps getting better on the next track, Delicious Things, which has some pretty great lyricism. I think Wolf Alice has some of the most consistent songwriting I've heard in recent memory. Every track just feels so well crafted and cared for. It's incredibly impressive. I love that heavy riff on Smile. I didn't expect it, but I love it. And the way the chorus contrasts it is very cool as well. I like the way that How Can I Make It Okay builds up throughout the entire track. It's really awesome. I don't think I like this album more than Visions of a Life, but it's definitely a very close second for me. It's just fantastic. I love Play the Greatest Hits. It's got an amazing screamed vocal performance and a really awesome punk energy that's just so cool. I could probably talk about how much I like every song on here because all of them are just that awesome. This album is so great and definitely a good way to end this discography dive. Speaking of which... So, now that I've listened to all 3 Wolf Alice albums, I'm going to go through my list of my favorite album, my favorite songs, and my final thoughts on the band, starting with my favorite album. I'd say Visions of a Life is definitely my favorite, but Blue Weekend is extremely close as well. Both are at about the same level for me, and that level being just fantastic, super enjoyable albums. Picking a favorite song for this band is incredibly challenging, just like for most artists, but I think I have to go with Heavenward from Visions of a Life. It's just amazing and a great opening track. Swallowtail from My Love Is Cool and Lipstick on the Glass from Blue Weekend are probably up there too, though. I'm extremely satisfied with the results of this video. I really enjoyed listening to all of this band's albums, and I can see myself coming back to them from time to time. I don't see them becoming one of my very favorite bands anytime soon, but who knows what the future holds. I'm definitely going to pay attention the next time they drop new music, and I'd say this experiment was a total success. Thank you very, very, very much for watching. I'm sorry if this video is kind of inconsistent with the energy and camera placement, but I do hope you enjoyed it regardless. I got another discography review coming next week, so you definitely won't want to miss that. It's going to be awesome, especially if you're an abstract hip-hop fan. But until then, I hope you have a great week, life, day, year, I don't know, but I'll see you when I see you.